I'm going to go to your rule number 4 now. And this is actually where we're going to end. This is actually, this is tell a complete story. And I don't know what that means or what the context is. And it sounds like something that could be valuable to the listener. So would you share what it means to tell a complete story?
I can try. And I'm sure some listeners he definitely didn't do that throughout this. But all these are aspirational rules. So I'm not even talking about the monomyth, the hero's journey. A story needs these 10 steps. You can whittle it down to its basic parts. A story is like a joke. It has a setup, it has the middle, and it has the punchline. And the people who just ramble, I love podcasting because it can be so many things, but the dangers are it can be so many things. And so somebody's like, "Ooh, what did I want to talk about on today's episode?" Well, I was driving to Starbucks and I saw a dog, and that dog was pretty cool. Where's this story going? This is not going anywhere. So it's what are you actually trying to tell somebody? And again, this is one I think just in real life, not just podcasting. And my eye starts to twitch anytime I talk to certain relatives of mine and they start telling me about their day, because it's a ramble. It's not a story. And again, you have humans on the other end who are giving you the gift of their time and ear holes. Don't waste that time and ramble and say all this nonsense. Get to your point. And it can be, if you're a good storyteller, if you've been on the moth, then you know how to do that and you know what details to add. But if you haven't, put a lot of thought into what you're going to say. I don't like scripted podcasts, not like fictional, but when it's one person just reading or two people reading at each other, that gets under my skin. So it's find that happy medium, put a lot of thought before you start recording into what you're going to say. So you're not doing this rambly, like a 5-year-old trying to tell you a story or a joke is, if it's your 5-year-old, it's adorable. If it's not your 5-year-old, it's the most infuriating thing in the world to listen to.
Totally understand. When it comes to just the setup, what's a good setup? Do you say, for example, I listened to your podcast, a few episodes. In the beginning, you say something as it's whoever's basically running the show on that episode says something like, in this episode, you're going to learn, we're going to talk about, and then they list a few things and then they'll say, and much more. And then they kind of jump into the actual episode. And what I like about that, and I think is a good takeaway for the listener, is that I always say, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them.
Yes.
And in this case, for your podcast, you hook the listener with, why should I care? What matters? What am I going to learn? What am I going to hear? And so you get that curiosity started, like an amuse-bouche and amuse, like a small morsel that kind of whets the appetite, gets you ready and gets you excited about the episode. And then you'll go through, you'll do it with a lot of humor, and then you'll deliver on it. And then at the end, you kind of wrap it up and you're like, this is what we talked about. Mm-hmm. And I love that. Going to just a story setup, what needs to be involved? I mean, I know it needs to hook somebody, but in your experience, what is there is there a formula that you could share with the listener on what is a good setup to a story?
Yeah, I formula. That's such an interesting thought. I think through examples. So the only way is, so you don't want to give everything away in that setup, but you need to, like you said, hook. You need to give them a little taste. So if I just was I was sleeping at my granddad's, and it was this big mansion. This was 15 years ago. And because he married this richer lady. This is a bad story. There's no setup. And you have no idea that I'm about to tell you that I woke up and there was a ghost in the room. But if I'm let me tell you about the time I'm pretty sure I saw a ghost when I was 16. That's your hook. So give them that nut to grab onto, and then you can start being it was a dark and stormy night kind of stuff. But I think grab them a little, and in the business world, they do it too much and it's so dry, right? But I do think keeping that, tell them what you're going to tell them what you told them, is so important. In another life, Adam, I did stand-up comedy, and I tried to do a joke about the guy who invented the tell them what you're going to tell them, and it was him doing a presentation about that, but it was just repeated and just snake eating itself over. And it never worked. I always thought it was very funny. It never worked on stage.